Often picture ego as someone loud,
Right.
boastful, demanding attention.
Yeah, the classic image.
But what if the really damaging kind is, well, uh, quieter? Like a subtle thing that just erodes your progress.
Mm-hmm. Undermines learning, maybe even your best intentions,
Yeah.
and you don't fully see it happening.
Mark Echo, the musician, he talked about ego-wrecking creative projects. That's kind of the quiet sabotage we want to get into today.
That's a really important point. It's often not this, roaring lion. It's more like a whisper that just twists how you see things.
Inflates your sense of self just enough.
Exactly. Enough to cloud your judgment, stop you from acting effectively. And for this deep dive, we're really leaning on Ryan Holiday's book, Ego is the Enemy, to unpack this.
Yeah, and the goal isn't to kill confidence or healthy self-belief. It's more about figuring out how things like genuine humility, real discipline.
And having a purpose, something bigger than just your own ambitions.
Right, how those things can be tools, basically. Tools to manage the ego and keep you focused on your path.
Think of this as maybe a session to help you stay grounded. Focus on what actually counts long term.
Okay, so let's start with the nature of ego itself. Like Holiday lays it out. What is it, really?
Well, at its core, it's this unhealthy belief in our own importance. Overblown significance.
Arrogance.
Arrogance, yeah, and like self-centered ambition. It goes beyond just normal confidence or, actual talent. Bill Walsh, the coach, he talked about that line.
The line between self-confidence and arrogance.
Right. How easy it is to cross it without realizing.
And you can see how today's world might, well, feed into that, can't you?
Oh, definitely.
All the social media stuff, this constant pressure to have a personal brand.
You're kind of pushed to shout about your goals, look for likes, for shares.
Right.
That external validation.
And it gets easy, I guess, to confuse those signals, those symptoms of success with actual success itself. What's going on there psychologically?
Well, what's fascinating is that reward loop.
Yeah.
The notifications, the likes, they give you that little dopamine hit. So it reinforces the telling part. Broadcasting achievements feels good. And sometimes that performance, that announcement, it almost becomes more appealing than the actual hard work.
So it blurs the lines.
Totally. Between the signs of success and the real thing. And Holiday points out, this ego problem, it pops up at different stages.
Not just after you've made it.
No, not at all. He identifies aspiration when you're starting out, then success, obviously, but also failure.
Failure, too. That's interesting.
Yeah, how you handle setbacks. Ego can mess you up then, too. We kind of cycle through these, and ego's a potential trap at each point.
Okay, let's dig into aspiration first. That danger of talking too much.
Yeah, talk, as Holiday puts it, before you've really done the thing.
Like Upton Sinclair running for governor back in '34. He published a whole book, Governor of California, before the election, detailing his plans. What happened with that?
Well, the interesting thing, someone observing at the time noted, was it might have actually sort of taken the wind out of his sails for the real campaign. By writing it all down, making it so vivid, he maybe got that psychological satisfaction of achieving it in his head.
So the talking replaced the doing.
Possibly, yeah. The words became a substitute for the hard graft needed to actually win.
Wow. That really drives home the importance of, staying a student, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
This Canvas strategy Holiday mentions, what's that about?
It's about focusing on supporting others, finding the tasks maybe nobody else wants, the less glamorous stuff.
So setting aside the need for the spotlight, especially early on.
Exactly. You focus on learning, contributing, helping those ahead of you. It keeps the ego down because your focus isn't on you getting praise.
What are the upsides?
Well, you build real experience, you get known as reliable. Your sense of self isn't tied to constant applause, so you're more resilient. And often, opportunities come your way because people see you're about the work.
Like that story about Kirk Hammett from Metallica.
Oh, yeah, great example. Already in this huge band, massive success. But he goes and takes guitar lessons from Joe Satriani.
Because he knew there was more to learn.
Right. It wasn't about lack of skill, it was humility. Recognizing someone else knew things he didn't. And Satriani's comment was interesting, too.
What did he say?
He mentioned how open Hammett was, even to really harsh feedback, willing to be critiqued to get better.
Yeah.
That's humility in action, even at the top.
Yeah. And Frank Shamrock, the fighter, his idea of always getting feedback.
Putting yourself under people you trust, constantly seeking their knowledge. It's about actively looking for expertise outside yourself.
Okay, so that's aspiration. What about when success actually comes? The focus shifts to discipline.
Right. And Holiday cautions against being driven purely by passion, that kind of wild enthusiasm.
You need something more deliberate.
Yeah, he argues for being driven by what you must do. A considered, steady approach. Reminds me of Talleyrand's advice. Above all, not too much zeal.
Why is being too zealous a problem?
Well, that measured approach helps you think clearly. Avoid impulsive moves driven by an inflated ego. It's more sustainable than just burning bright and burning out.
William Tecumseh Sherman, the general, is a good example here.
A fascinating one. Hugely successful, but apparently preferred being number two. Felt it suited him better.
That shows incredible self-awareness, especially when culture tells us to always aim for the top spot, right?
Exactly. His validation came from being effective, doing the job well, not necessarily the title. Which brings us back to that question from Boyd. To be or to do?
Meaning.
If your main focus is on doing the work, on a purpose bigger than yourself, you need less external validation. The being someone important becomes less critical. Choices get clearer, ego gets quieter.
But it's so easy when things go well to start believing your own hype.
Oh, absolutely. You
Yeah.
start telling yourself a story,
Yeah.
right, about how brilliant you are, maybe downplaying luck or help from others.
So how do you counter that? Bill Walsh again, with his standard of performance?
Yes, with the 49ers, his focus wasn't some grand story. It was on executing the small things perfectly, every single detail.
How did that keep egos in check?
By emphasizing the process, the standard itself. Success wasn't about individual genius. It was about everyone hitting that high standard consistently. It built collective excellence, not individual stars demanding praise. Everyone was focused on continuous improvement.
Okay, that makes sense. Now what about failure? Ego can be destructive then too, you said.
Yeah, this is where having that long-term purpose really helps. Holiday brings up a lifetime versus dead time.
And Malcolm X in prison.
A powerful example. He could have let those years be dead time, wasted. Instead, he made it a lifetime.
Ow.
Through intense self-education, reading constantly, studying, he turned confinement into this period of incredible growth.
It shows you still have a choice, even when things look bleak.
Exactly
Yeah.
how you use the time. Failure doesn't have to define you. It can be fuel for learning if you approach it right.
And the flip side, success, if you're not careful, can lead to this disease of me.
Where you get wrapped up in your own stuff, your own rewards, and lose sight of the bigger picture, the mission.
Like George Marshall during D-Day.
Right. He apparently really wanted a major command, but he put the needs of the whole operation first. He knew what was best for the mission trumped his personal ambition.
That kind of selflessness is rare.
It is. It's the antidote to that self-centered pull of ego. And to really keep it grounded, Holiday suggests meditating on the immensity.
Connecting with something bigger, like John Muir in Alaska.
Yeah, feeling that connection to nature, the vastness of the universe, it puts your own worries, your own importance into perspective.
Makes your ego seem smaller.
Naturally. It's like the Stoic idea of sympathy, realizing you're part of this huge, interconnected whole. It just shrinks the ego down. And maintaining that clear view, that's crucial as you move forward.
Holiday calls it maintaining sobriety.
Yeah, like a clear-headedness, a rationality, especially when success can be intoxicating. Think of Angela Merkel.
Known for being pragmatic, focused on results, not fanfare.
Exactly. That kind of sobriety.
And it's a constant battle, isn't it? Managing ego, it never really ends.
Never. Even Alexander the Great, taught by Aristotle, eventually let ego take over.
And Katharine Graham's story.
Powerful. Coming from privilege, facing huge personal and professional failure, but then persevering, learning from it all, and achieving so much.
It comes back to that Bill Walsh quote, doesn't it? Almost always, your road to victory goes through a place called failure.
It's part of the process. So, wrapping up this deep dive, the main things are recognizing ego, often quiet, as a saboteur.
Right. And using humility when you're aspiring so you can actually learn.
Using discipline when you succeed to stay focused on your purpose.
And finding perspective, connecting to something bigger, especially when you face setbacks or taste success.
So the ongoing work for you, the listener, is really just noticing, becoming aware of those subtle pulls of ego in your own life.
Where might it be quietly steering you off course? Away from learning, away from real contribution.
Choose that quiet progress over the loud applause. Focus on the path, the work itself, not the pedestal.
Maybe take a moment, think about it. Where could ego be holding you back, just a little? And how can you nudge yourself back toward humility, discipline, and what truly matters to you?